All right, let's crack open this deep dive into United Breweries Ltd. We're looking at their Q2 results for fiscal year 2025.
Yeah, we've got their official reports and press releases here.
So we're going to really get into, like, what's the story behind the numbers? What are the insights that you want to share with a friend, maybe over a beer?
And what's really interesting is that UBL, they're not just keeping up, they're actually doing really well in a market that's, changing all the time.
Exactly, and I think that's what a lot of our listeners are curious about.
Absolutely.
Like, how are they doing it?
So let's start with the big picture. UBL had a 5% volume growth overall in Q2.
Okay, 5%.
Which, maybe doesn't sound huge.
Yeah.
But you've got to remember those crazy heat waves we had.
Oh, yeah.
Not exactly prime beer drinking weather.
Right, everyone was just hiding inside.
So 5% growth despite that, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But here's where it gets even more interesting. The premium segment volume, it jumped by 27%.
Whoa, hold on. 27%. That's a big jump.
It is.
So I guess, like, people are really willing to, spend a little bit more for a better beer.
It's not even just about spending more. It's like a whole shift, right? People have more disposable income these days. They're looking for these better experiences, and that includes their beer.
Right.
And UBL is really smart. They're tapping into that, building up their premium brands.
So it's not just about putting a fancy label on something.
No.
It's about understanding, what people want and actually delivering.
Absolutely. And it's working. Brands like Kingfisher Ultra, Ultra Max, Heineken Silver, they're all seeing, really strong growth.
Okay.
And then there's the launch of Amstel Grande in India.
Oh, right.
Amstel's a big global premium brand. So this move shows, like, they're serious about getting a piece of that premium market.
Okay. So they were being strategic.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the bottom line. How are these trends actually translating into, money?
Well, their Q2 net sales are up 12%.
Okay, 12%.
Yeah, and that's fueled by both the volume growth and this, whole premiumization strategy.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But, strong sales don't always equal strong profits.
Right.
What about their overall financial health?
Well, their gross profit margin, it's a bit lower than last year.
Oh, okay.
But it's actually improving since the first quarter.
Oh, interesting.
And what this tells us is they're keeping a really close eye on their costs,
Uh-huh.
which is super important, with inflation being what it is.
So they're not just like, raising prices to make up for it. They're actually, finding ways to be more efficient.
Yeah.
That's good to know. But are they, like, reinvesting these profits?
They are.
Okay.
So their EBIT, which basically shows us how well their core operations are doing,
Right.
that saw a 23% jump.
Whoa.
That's big, right?
Yeah, 23%.
It means they're making more money from their operations.
Right.
Which gives them more to, invest back into the business.
Okay.
And for the year to date, their EBIT growth is even higher. It's 26%.
Wow. So they're not just, like, squeezing every penny out of operations.
No.
They're actually using it wisely to grow the business.
Right, exactly.
So what are they investing in specifically?
They're really focused on strengthening their brands.
Okay.
And building up, their organizational capabilities.
Okay, so setting themselves up for the future.
Exactly.
So we're seeing, good growth, a smart strategy with, focusing on premium.
Yeah.
They're being smart with their finances. But, India's huge.
It is.
What's happening regionally? Are some areas doing better than others?
That's a great question, and the regional picture is actually really interesting.
Okay.
The North and West regions, they're leading in terms of volume growth.
Okay.
South saw moderate growth, and the East actually dipped a little.
Huh. That's kind of like what you see with, food preferences.
Exactly.
Like, you wouldn't order the same thing everywhere you go.
Exactly, and it suggests that UBL needs to, think local.
Right.
Right. Tailor their strategies to
Wow.
each region.
Right.
Maybe different marketing campaigns,
Yeah.
different products even.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they've also had to, adjust prices in some areas.
They have. They've implemented price increases in a few key states.
Okay.
Combined with the move to premium products, that's definitely helped boost revenue.
Okay. So they're making the necessary adjustments.
Yeah.
But, they haven't completely abandoned, like, the average beer drinker, have they?
No, and that's the really smart thing here.
Yeah.
The economy segment, it's also growing,
Okay.
which shows that they're not just chasing, the high-end market.
Right.
They're balancing their portfolio
Yeah.
to appeal to, everyone.
Okay, so they're playing all the angles. But, we can't ignore the fact that the Indian beer market, it's getting more crowded.
For sure.
It's more competitive all the time.
Yeah.
So what is UBL doing to stay ahead of the game?
Well, we already talked about premiumization.
Right.
Which is, clearly a smart move.
Uh-huh.
But they're also really leaning on innovation.
Okay, like what kind of innovations are we talking about?
Well, they're using some, pretty sophisticated revenue management techniques.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
To make sure that their pricing and their promotions, are really hitting the mark.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really laser focused on managing costs.
Right, which, in this economy,
Essential.
it's essential.
Yeah.
So they're not just reacting to challenges.
Yeah.
They're actually being proactive.
Absolutely.
Okay. But how optimistic are they about the future?
Well, they seem pretty confident, actually. They see, a lot of long-term potential in the Indian beer market. Things like rising disposable income, demographics, and, premiumization, they're all contributing to that.
So it sounds like they've got, a good plan.
They do.
Is there anything else that's jumping out at you from their reports?
There are a couple of things. First, they've appointed Dr. Ranjan Ramdas Pai as a new independent director.
Oh, now that's a name I recognize. Isn't he a big deal in healthcare?
He is, but what's even more interesting is that he's also a leader in education.
Oh, okay.
He's really good at spotting trends,
No.
and he has a history of backing successful startups.
That's an interesting choice for a, beer company.
It is, isn't it?
So why would they bring in someone with expertise in healthcare and education?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
This appointment could be a hint that UBL is, thinking beyond just beer.
Like what? They're going to start making UBL hospitals or something?
Well, maybe not hospitals, but maybe they're exploring new avenues, branching out areas where Dr. Pai's expertise would be, really valuable.
So they might be brewing something bigger than just beer.
It's possible.
Right.
We should also touch on the legal challenges they're facing.
Right.
There's that penalty from the Competition Commission of India.
Yeah.
And the alcohol ban in Bihar.
Okay, those are definitely things to watch.
Yeah, these legal battles, they're still ongoing.
Okay.
But UBL seems confident that they're in a good legal position.
Okay.
And that they'll be able to, resolve these issues.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to remember that these situations could have, implications for their business.
Right.
We'll have to, see how it all plays out.
So a lot going on.
Yeah.
Strong performance, smart moves, and then these unexpected twists like a new director.
Right.
These legal challenges.
Yeah, it's like a business thriller, but with beer.
Okay, so before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you mentioned
Okay.
about Dr. Pai. What do you think this could mean for UBL's long-term strategy?
Yeah, I mean, it's not every day that a beer company brings in someone with such, diverse expertise.
Yeah.
His background in healthcare, education, his entrepreneurial spirit, it all suggests that UBL might be considering diversification.
Diversification, you mean going beyond just beverages?
Yeah.
Are we going to see UBL schools now?
Maybe not schools.
Okay.
But they have a lot of resources.
Yeah.
A proven ability to adapt.
Right.
Maybe we'll see them using their expertise in things like logistics, marketing, consumer engagement to create ventures in these, seemingly unrelated sectors.
It's they're saying, hey, we're not just a beer company anymore.
Exactly.
We're a company that could do anything.
Yeah.
So for everyone listening, keep your eye on UBL. They're not just brewing beer. They're brewing a future.
They are.
That's potentially much bigger than we can even imagine.
Definitely something to watch. Yeah, it's like they're looking at the whole board, not just the next move.
Right.
Yeah. Really anticipating what's coming, positioning themselves.
And you know what else I think is smart?
What's that?
Even with all this, talk about premiumization.
Right.
They haven't forgotten about the regular everyday beer drinker.
Yeah.
They're still seeing growth in that economy segment.
Absolutely.
Which shows they understand that, not everyone
Right.
wants to or can afford
Exactly.
to drink premium all the time.
It's all about balance, right?
Yeah, it is.
Catering to both ends of the market.
It's like they're running two trains on two different tracks,
I like that.
and they're both heading towards success.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And it's not just about, having a variety of products either.
Right.
UBL is investing a lot in, their manufacturing,
Okay.
their supply chain.
So they can keep up with demand
Exactly.
as it grows.
Not just in India, but potentially, globally as well.
Speaking of global, did the reports say anything about, their exports?
They didn't go into a ton detail.
Okay.
But it's definitely something to, keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Expanding into new markets that could be huge for them down the road.
Especially as those premium brands,
Yeah.
gain recognition.
Yeah.
Imagine, seeing Kingfisher Ultra on tap in, a London pub.
Right.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. And don't forget about Dr. Pie, right?
Oh, yeah.
All those connections.
Yeah.
All that experience in international markets. That could be huge for them if they really want to ramp up that global expansion.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. Talk about sustainability.
Sure.
It's obviously a really big topic these days.
It is.
And I think consumers are just becoming so much more aware of
Yeah,
the impact of, what they buy.
absolutely.
So is UBL doing anything to, address those concerns?
It's definitely on their radar.
Okay.
They mentioned rolling out some sustainability initiatives,
Okay.
but they didn't roll into specifics in these reports.
What kind of things do you think a company like UBL could realistically do?
Well, there's a lot of potential, right?
Yeah.
They could focus on reducing their water usage,
Okay.
reducing their carbon footprint,
Mhm.
maybe switching to more sustainable packaging,
Right.
even partnering with local farmers
Yeah.
to source ingredients.
Yeah. And on that, social responsibility side, they could promote, responsible drinking.
Exactly.
Support local communities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, these kinds of initiatives, they're not just good for, the planet and communities. They
No.
can be good for business, too.
Yeah. I mean, consumers are more likely to, support companies that
Exactly.
share their values.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone. Okay. One last question before we move on to, our final thoughts.
Okay.
What about, the digital world?
Yeah.
How is UBL using technology
Mm-hmm.
to connect with consumers?
Yeah. Good question. Again, the reports didn't dive super deep into their digital strategy,
Okay.
but it's definitely a key area for, any company
Yeah.
that wants to stay relevant these days.
I'm thinking targeted ads online,
Mm-hmm.
engaging social media content,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe even personalized marketing campaigns.
All possibilities.
Yeah.
They could also look into, e-commerce platforms
Right.
for direct sales,
Yeah.
or even create, some innovative digital experiences.
Like what?
I don't know, like a virtual beer tasting.
That'd be cool.
Right.
Okay.
Or an app that recommends food pairings.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
There are so many possibilities.
Yeah. That's a space where they can really get creative.
Exactly.
Okay. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
Let's take a minute, sum it all up
Sure.
for our listener.
Yeah.
Highlight the key takeaways here.
Okay, so big picture, UBL had a really strong second quarter.
Right.
Solid growth,
Mm.
especially in that premium segment.
Mm.
They're managing costs well,
Mm.
investing in their brands,
Yeah.
and they're showing that they really understand what consumers want these days.
Right. And it seems like they're not just sitting back, relaxing.
No, not at all.
They're looking for new opportunities to grow.
Exactly.
International expansion, sustainability,
Yeah.
the digital world.
Yeah.
They're thinking ahead.
And then there's, the wild card,
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Pie.
Right.
What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a big question mark.
It just suggests that they might be thinking way beyond just being a beverage company.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's they're brewing something big.
They are. And we'll, have to wait and see what they unveil
Exactly.
in the coming months and years.
Yeah, for sure.
So for our listeners,
Yeah.
here's a question to kind of think about.
Okay.
Given this focus on premiumization, on innovation,
Mm-hmm.
how do you think they can elevate that consumer experience even further?
Yeah. What would really resonate with, today's beer drinkers
Yeah.
who are looking for, more than just a drink?
Yeah, something to ponder.
Definitely.
And as UBL continues to, evolve,
Mhm.
push boundaries,
Yeah.
we'll be here
Yeah, absolutely.
to keep you updated.
It's fear.
It's almost like they're saying, hey, we're not just a beer company anymore.
Right.
We're a lifestyle brand.
Yeah, I like that. It's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
They're really tapping into this like desire for more.
Mm-hmm.
Consumers want experiences,
Yeah.
connections,
Right.
brands that reflect their values.
And UBL seems to be like embracing that shift.
They are.
It's cool to see a company with such a long history be so like willing to adapt,
Absolutely.
to evolve with the market.
Yeah, it's a really forward-thinking approach.
Yeah.
And their success shows that they're on the right track.
Okay, so as we like wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
let's leave our listener with like one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, I like it.
We've talked about premiumization,
Right.
innovation,
Yeah.
even like diversification.
Mm-hmm.
But what does all this mean for like the future of UBL? Can we see them like evolving into something,
Yeah.
that goes beyond just, what we think of as a beer company?
It's a really interesting thought. I
Yeah.
mean, think about it.
Yeah.
They're already, kind of dipping their toes into other areas.
Right.
Healthcare, education with Dr. Pi.
Right.
Could we see them leveraging their expertise, logistics, marketing, to create like entirely new ventures in those sectors?
Like, are we going to see like UBL educational platforms
Maybe.
or health and wellness products
It's possible.
or like, innovative experiences that blend their beverage expertise
Yeah. Yeah.
with these new areas?
Right. Like imagine like a brewery with a yoga studio attached.
I mean, who knows?
It's a really cool idea, and
Yeah.
it just shows that, in today's world,
Yeah.
the companies that are really succeeding, they're the ones that are adapting,
You're right.
innovating, pushing boundaries.
And UBL seems to be doing that.
They are.
So for our listeners,
Yeah.
keep an eye on UBL.
Yeah, they're not just brewing beer.
They're brewing up a future
They are.
that could be, much bigger and more impactful
Absolutely.
than we can even imagine right now.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
And to the future of UBL.
Cool.